know it's cars keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car key. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive.
Analytical preparation, that's what cars is given. Cars don't discriminate, teaching the men and women. Each and every week, there's nerd to get your focus. Never manipulating stats, lore, cars and hocus pocus. Cars keys, they're never lost. Check the source, never gonna find a better scouting report. Cars going live with the smartest man, my bestie. Deciphering holes on the defense like Getsy. New show, uniforms, orange with the dark sea. Tape them for live patrons, this is Cars
You know
Keys.
it's cars keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car key. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. We gotta break down tape like detectives. No hot takes, just real football perspectives. The Bears nerd dropping science on his terms. TTNL giving Bears press like a perm. Other networks is off with the heads. Stats plus film equals football cred. Analysis like data 10 tries to shred. When Cassie's letting me cake, we keep the 100 crew fed. Cars keys, let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblin. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblin.
Hey, it's Cars Keys, Season 4, Episode 58. Bears are on bye week. We are not. Let's get right into it. Let me go grab my guy. There is Chicago White Sox fan, Matthew Karstensen.
How'd they do tonight? Oh,
Yeah. Well,
how have they done in the last decade? Oh,
sorry, Gridiron Assassin, wherever you are. Cars, what's up?
dude, isn't it weird to kind of be like happy at this point of the season? You know, to
Yeah.
be talking about this team still. Really feel like
Imagine being a Jets fan right now. You know,
oh my god,
sucks. Where are those guys?
Oof. I don't even want it. So we've already gotten closed down once today. We don't need to get closed down a second time.
Thank you, NFL. But we're back. We're back. But yeah, man, it's just you dive into the tape, you dive into some of these numbers behind the scenes, and just like you and I were talking for a little bit there pre-show, it's some of the things that you're going to put up tonight. It points to one thing and one thing only. Chicago's got a quarterback. Is he a finished product? By no means at all. Ben Johnson's not a finished product. None of these guys are. But the Bears have a quarterback. I have the utmost confidence in Caleb Williams and the ascension that he is on. He's got a lot to work on, but you know what? He's got a lot of potential to fulfill. And even with that being said, Cars, and you've seen the stats, we talked about it last night. His first 21 games as the number one overall pick in the NFL, 28-8. It's the best start to a career in NFL history for number one overall pick at quarterback.
I mean, I think what to me was the step. You talked a lot about like the first week and his happy feet in the pocket, and you looked that last drive that he ran, and obviously there wasn't like you take that pass to DJ Moore, like that was all him. That was him escaping the pocket and making that move, but he didn't look too small in that moment.
Nope.
Like
He looks built for it, Cars.
and Ben had said
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah.
And this sort of uncertainty, like you see it at the podium. What I remember last year is a lot of like uncertainty about where this is going.
Imagine that, because he was surrounded by uncertainty, right?
Or as they said in Spaceballs, I'm surrounded by assholes.
Yeah.
But you look at him now, and you just get the sense of like, yeah, you're right. He's surrounded by someone that believes in him, that's building him up. We talked early on in the season about some of the you know, body language stuff between he and DJ Moore.
Yep.
That has not been happening. Who was the first person he hugged after that
Yeah.
blocked field goal? You look at, I think we can't put enough on Rome's full ascension now into that number one wideout. That's not a shot at DJ Moore. That's just how good Rome is.
Right. And he better be, right? Top 10 pick.
Yes.
You don't draft the dude in the top 10 to not be your number one wideout. It's the same with Colston Loveland. Unfortunately, Colston Loveland's spot where he went, he's going to have to be a top 3 tight end by year 2.
Yeah. Oh,
to warrant it.
absolutely. But I think when you look at all of this and like that touchdown throw that he threw to Roman, and obviously it's been overdone at this point. He wasn't open. He hadn't made his cut at the
No.
time he released that pass.
Yeah.
That's the difference in this team right now is there is faith that the guys are going to be open, that they're going to be where they need to be. And you just watch this guy ascend. We're through that first quarter of the season, right? So you sort of take all that out and you're going to throw basically everything away. And I think the bye week at this moment is going to be really interesting for Ben because he's got all this time to pull back and look at everything. But some of these players that we needed to ascend have and continue to. And any other week we lose that. Cole Kmet has that type of week last year. We don't score 10 points.
No, and that's the thing. And I mean, it was, I think, clearly Cole's worst game as a professional football player. I mean, it may qualify as his worst game in football.
Yeah.
In his football life. It is what it is, and listen. I think Cole has talent, but I don't want to go as far as calling him a mental midget. I don't think that's what it is, but I think Cole lets a lot of ancillary bullshit affect him. Whereas where Caleb is in a foxhole taking enemy fire 24/7, 365, and he's just out there doing his thing. Off the field, it's these bullets are bouncing off of him. Not too much is worrying him. Cole, I think everything last year affected Cole. I think the Colston Loveland getting drafted affected Cole. I think him getting called out on tape affects Cole. I just think everything, the fans, when they're down on Cole, I think he takes all of that to heart. So until he figures that out, I have Cole as a X-Bear in 2026.
I mean, it's an $8 million saving, roughly, if I remember correctly, at that point. But Shane, you look at all of that, and you look at all the struggles, and we'll talk about penalties and everything.
Yep.
I think what makes me the most amazed across all of it is every flaw we had. We can't run the ball. We have a ton of penalties. We've had some terrible drops and all of these things. We're 12th in the league in scoring. 12th in the league in scoring.
And as a Chicago Bears fan, that is lofty territory.
And I get that it's a 4-game stretch, but there aren't many 4-game stretches when we're top 15, top 12. And yes, you played a Raiders team this last week, and you've played a Dallas team that definitely impacts it. But you played a Detroit team and a Minnesota team, and still were finding ways to put up points. With we're scoring at the last drive, right?
Yeah.
Cole Kmet gets a 5-yard penalty. In any other year, that's it. That's game over. And yet we go through and we don't face, I don't think, a single third down that entire drive with a penalty.
Right.
That is the most un-Bears-like thing that we have. I'm sorry, the last play, the touchdown run was the third down play. But you go from your own 35 all the way to the 7-yard line or the 4-yard line. without a third down,
Right.
game on the line
Yep.
with a penalty. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
This is not us.
No, it's not. And what also is not us, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit, is the Theo Benedict factor in all of this. Because at right tackle, I was very disappointed in
Oh, it was
Theo
terrible.
in what I saw. And it wasn't just his technique and strength. He didn't look like he even wanted to be out there at points.
He had no confidence
He
at all.
got destroyed at one point and essentially just said to the dude, "Hey, okay," and never said a word and went back. Other Chicago Bear regimes, other Chicago Bears coaching staffs, first off, weren't even going to make the switch when they made it. They certainly weren't going to push him over to the left side and then bring in Trapillo. Like this staff
think
did.
about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just moving him over. It was pushing your second round pick tackle who had been inactive the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And getting him his first in-game snaps against the guy who had dominated
fucking
the line
unicorn.
of scrimmage the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a weird thing to be like, our staff has such confidence. And maybe it I think all the best ones, you hover on that arrogance line, right?
Sure.
Like you absolutely have to do it. But they didn't bat an eye. There was no hesitation. There
Right.
was nothing. They're like, this is the move. It's gonna work out. Let's go.
Yeah.
And what a win.
Right. And I see this in there, talking about Braxton Jones, and I'm not trading Braxton Jones for a
No.
6th round pick because injuries, as we know as Bears fans, happen. I'm not re-signing Braxton. He's done
Correct.
here in Chicago. But all of that, hey, maybe a team ponies up for him in the offseason because they don't have to give up any compensation for him and give him a decent gives him a decent contract where you're getting a 6th compensatory back or even a 7th, and that's better than nothing. But to me to ship him off right now for a 6th or a pick swap type deal, I think he's more valuable to your team as an experienced left tackle as a backup, and let that ride out.
And I still think, he hasn't fully recovered from the surgery. I think he's still working on some of that strength. So you give him extra time now where he's working on all that.
Yeah. And I mean, we know he's done, Cars. We know how that is. They've made the pivot, and it's not really rumor anymore when the Bears take the field in Washington. Theo Benedict's going to be the left tackle. And depending on where you are with Darnell Wright, it's either going to be Darnell Wright or Ozzie Trapillo. And you move forward. But it's just
we're on to Washington.
Yeah, we're on to Washington. And this is another thing that I want to say here. When the schedule first came out and I saw where this bye week fell, I hated it initially.
Yeah.
And now that we're here, it's falling at the absolute perfect time for this franchise. I think so, with the injuries, with guys coming back. It also, coincides with the 4-week IR return guys, if they can, start to come back and get incorporated and stuff like that. Ben is going to go and they're going to make some changes. Obviously, they're going to self-scout and do all of that, Cars. But you know what the number one thing is that I'm looking for in all of this if I'm Ben Johnson?
What's that?
This fucking roster, everybody that was on the 24 team that's still here, there should not be one person on that roster that needs to have motivation for this Washington game. That should be fucking built in the way that everything went down last year with your head coach and how he fucking blew it for you, how Tyreek made a really, really dumb play, all of that. The motivation should be built in. And if I get to Washington on Monday Night Football with all of those things at stake that's already built in, and I see a guy out there slacking, not giving 110%, not motivated, not bought in, you are gone. That is the message. That is when Ben Johnson drops the fucking hammer on a player and you remove him from the fucking team to send your fucking message. The motivation for this game coming up in Washington has to be built in, ready to fucking go, hit prime time, send a fucking message, kick the door in nationally, and say, guess what? This ain't the same Chicago Bears.
But Shane, I think you also know from this staff that none of that is going to be allowed. You know,
Yeah.
let's take a look at Tyreek to this point. The old staff would be trotting Tyreek out in front of everyone, talking about all that he's accomplished. He's arrived. This is the player that we always thought he was going to be. Who is actually the one still in front? It's Kevin Byard because he leads by example and he's a dog in the house, right? Like the guy is just Kevin Byard, by the way, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like he and you're finally able to see that. So you're seeing go ahead.
Is he a guy that you come to and give him another year
Yeah.
on his deal? I think that sends a positive message to this team. I honestly do. Tack on another year for him.
He absolutely deserves it. And it's not just the interceptions, but like that tackle, look at the way that he grabbed Genty on and made sure he went to the ground. He was not going to lose that. But this staff is the whole time has just basically been like, we're not arrived until the season is over.
Yep.
Nothing. We have earned nothing. Our head coach is an absolute psychopath. You know, like everybody showed the thing on the sidelines where his eyes are all wide, and you look at that halftime interview and all of that. In every positive version of the way, that's who he is. They're not going to accept anything that's happened.
Yeah.
They're not writing checks like we're 2-2, we've arrived, like, you know, like we did coming out of London after beating the Jaguars. Like, nope, we're here. This is us. This is who we are. No, they're going to keep pushing forward. So I'm with you. I think the bigger thing for me coming out of this bye, and we'll talk about it in a minute, is I think after this bye is when you're going to see some of these rookies more unleashed. A lot more of that. You know, you started to see it a little bit with Monungai. You know, we've seen a little bit more of Luther. I think Colson was just really just kept out because they felt that they could win this game without him.
Yeah, it really sounds like Colston, if this was let's just say, you know, playoff implications, you know, on the line, that he would have been in there along with Kyler. And that's why I really had, you know, we talked about this last night too. I really had no issue with them erring on the side of caution, because I mean, if you brought Caleb back and had him for a handful of plays like you had Jalen Johnson, and then boom, he's out, it's that creates, and listen, that can happen with him coming back against Washington, but I had no problem with them giving him the extra time and
no, but it's what you do. But it just shows, I think, in general, Shane, that the staff is in complete control.
Yeah.
And this isn't like Nagy when you're sitting down and like trying to convince yourself that what you did against Tampa meant something, or like last year, what we did against the Jaguars meant something. What they did against Dallas, they ho-hummed it the whole way through. It wasn't like, see, look at us, like pounding the chest. They're kind of like, no, we did what we were supposed to, but there's still a lot to clean up. There's still stuff that we've got to do.
Right, and that's the big thing. You know, you bring up Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy wanted to come across as the aggressiveness was like a natural trait within him, and you could see him during the games fighting it, what he should do. Ben, it's just baked in. That is his thing.
He's comfortable in his own skin.
Yep, and he knows it. The team knows it in situations when they're going to be going for it. I said, how many times did we see with Matt Nagy? He's like, oh, you know, we're going to be aggressive. That's just who we are. And then it would be 4th and 1. They'd take the play clock down. Then they'd call timeout. Then they'd try to figure out what they'd want to do. They'd come out. They'd get a false start, and then they'd punt the football.
We get a delay a game. I wish we would get to the point we would get a false start. We would always get a delay of game. No, I think it's, you know, and that's kind of the encouraging thing. You know, it was really weird from the opposite side watching the last drive and having
Yeah.
faith in the play calls, faith in the quarterback, faith in some of the wide receivers and where that ball could go. And you kinda sit back and as someone who's kinda been in this, I'll believe it when I see it type of thing and trying to
Right there with you. Yeah.
keep myself somewhat grounded, it's getting more difficult. And, like, let's just pop into something really quick because I think
Yeah.
it's the part that makes it the most interesting, and thank you for, to Ryan Cox for bringing this one to my attention.
It's about time you did something nice.
Oh, thank God. But when you look at this, you're talking about this is the 4th highest 3rd down conversion rate team in the NFL, while facing the 2nd longest 3rd down yardage
Yeah.
in the NFL. Like, when you look at this number and you look at some of those other teams, we know how abysmal overall Tennessee is. We've seen a lot of problems with the Houston Texans and their lines. We've seen the Jets, the Cardinals, the Seahawks have been inconsistent at best on offense. The Ravens looked all world early and have completely fallen apart. And so you look at all these other teams, and you're like, offensively, they're struggling. They're not scoring the points that they're
Right.
supposed to be. And guys, when you look at this chart, understand we are 12th in the league in scoring right now with an average 3rd down of just shy of 9 yards. So imagine what that scoring looks like as these things get cleaned up,
And
if they can get the run game going.
can you throw that back up there one more
Yeah.
time real quick? I was just looking. So on there you have two teams, three teams. All right, Dallas, because Dallas is up there. I'm talking about with first year, new coaching staffs.
Mhm.
So I mean that in and of itself is a great sign.
Oh, it's a tremendously good sign. And I think when you wanna look at what kind of is the Caleb Williams stat that won't truly be a Caleb Williams stat,
Yep.
this is it.
Yeah.
This is not happening with a lot of other quarterbacks, and you can argue, uh, with a lot of people for a lot of different things, but in our lifetime, 3rd and 8 has been a 4-yard run
Yeah.
and a punt,
Yeah.
and now it's a 13-yard pass and a first down.
And that goes all the way back to the Wani days when you would hand off to Robert Green on a delay
Oh
on 3rd and
god.
8.
Remember how much we loved
Yeah. Oh
Robert
yeah.
Green and, Lewis Tillman, right?
Yep.
Like,
Oh yeah.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
But this is true right here. What he says, when's the last time the Bears played a bad game and still scored 25?
I disagree with that for
Oh, do
one
you?
point. How often did we have a good game and not score
That's good.
25
Well, that's
points?
true. Right. Great point.
Right? Like, how many times have we been like, "Wow, we played pretty well." I mean, we missed some scoring
Yeah.
opportunities. We ended up with 17, 18, 20
We
points,
won 13-12.
right? And
Yeah.
it was like, but the offense was moving. But we're one of the best teams in the red zone as
Yeah.
well. Like, we might not be getting all the opportunities as some of these others, but we're converting them at such a rate. Like, all of these little things, and I get that there's such hesitation, and I'm trying my best to not, like, jump out of my skin, like, with excitement,
Yep.
but if you clean up a few of these things, that 25 points becomes 28,
Yeah.
becomes 30, becomes 35 points. Opposing teams do not want to face us, and as we'll show in a second, like, where the schedule is going, there's an avenue for us to get more reps and better before that schedule gets tougher.
Oh yeah.
So everybody keeps saying like, "Oh, I don't want to be face the Packers later on as Micah gets more, assimilated to the defense and they're playing with him." I totally agree and can't argue with that as a point. But you're telling me after the next like 6 games that we go, if we're building confidence and kind of it's not linear, you're going to see these up and downs.
Yep.
Dallas was an up. Overall, Raiders were a down. Now there were some up parts of that, but you go through this next part of the schedule, and it continues on at this pace, and we're building confidence, and we do some of these other additional things and figure out like if Benedict is going to be the improvement that we think, opposing defenses are not going to be happy to face us. Can you imagine sitting down at third down and looking around and going, I've
Yeah.
got Rome, Luther, DJ, and Colston Loveland all on the field at the same point in time? Who am I going to guard? What team can go 4 for 4 on guarding against those? There's not a lot.
No, and I get it. It is uncharted territory for the Bears, but I think to me, it's all the more reason you need to go into Washington and make it a statement fucking game. They go in there,
Yeah.
they get out with a W, they get their revenge. I just think with a young team, Cars, that's this one in Vegas helped, with the
Oh,
confidence in overall. You go to Washington under the circumstances with everything that has surrounded that game last year to now, even with Caleb returning home, with Caleb versus Jaden Daniels, because that's going to be a thing, now under Ben Johnson. That's taking gasoline and throwing a fucking match to light this fucking team on fire if you get out of Washington with a win and with a statement win on Monday Night Football.
and let's be honest, the Commanders that we heard, Mariota has played somewhat decently. I don't want to take away from that, but they have not been that same team of destiny. And we see this all the time in the NFL. You peak that first year, and then you have this come down to earth. And and basically after year 2, that's when we figure out what you are. Like the Redskins, sorry, I will always call them the Redskins. The Commanders, yeah, they're scary. They're scary on offense. They've got a lot of different weapons.
Yep.
But the offensive line has been bad. The defense hasn't been great. They aren't the same team of destiny that you were a year ago. You win this game, you can become a team of destiny like Washington did last year.
Totally agree.
It's super. It's again, I'm pitching myself to stay calm underneath here, but it's like you just see a path to where this is going. And I don't know about you, Shane. I will watch those Ben Johnson speeches after every game,
dude.
Yeah, on repeat. Repeat.
I can flip through my For You page and I might get 8 out of 10 videos are Ben Johnson locker room videos. It's crazy, but listen, the team understands that they have a guy now that's going to not only do what he needs to do, but has the confidence in doing it the way that it needs to be done. And I just don't think, I got to shout out our guy, Brendan Shagru with, splicing together the locker room speeches with, because it's startling when
one
you're
looked like a librarian, and the other looked like a head coach.
You're an NFL football team. You have a lot of young players on your team, and you have some Grizzly vets making a ton of money, and you're sitting there watching that. You're like, what the fuck? What? And that was your leadership for 3 fucking years.
How about what Kevin Byard said at both post game and then in an interview?
Yep.
Ben Johnson told all of them the book was you keep it close on the Bears and they will find a way to lose the game.
So true.
As a player, I think you appreciate a coach that says, this is what I looked at you across from the other locker room and said, guys, we don't need to be up 20-0. If we just keep it close, if it's 17-17, if they're up 17-14, they're going to fall apart. We can have faith in that.
Yeah.
And as fans, we all felt it.
100%.
We all felt that was a realm of possibility. And you know what? For once, it changed. And you see it, right? And it's, again, Byard as a captain and giving that speech, you understand. Edmonds is no longer that captain.
Yep.
You've got these guys that really believe. You get the message. you really get the sense of like there is belief in the locker room of where this is going. And not
100%.
not from a smoke and mirror standpoint, but from an actual performance hitting. And I just, man, it's so nice.
It is, man, and it counts. You talk about the leadership from a Kevin Byard that's been not just around the league, but has been in the league for a long time as an all pro,
Yeah.
at the safety position. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball, and a guy that you don't hear a lot, and that just shows you how fucking good he is, in Joe Tooney. When was
Oh,
the last time you heard his name? It's because he's just going out there and doing what Joe Tooney does. If you look at the analytics with him, it's just he's out there dominating, not fucking up. I think what was it? Yeah, I don't know if you have the numbers, but it was like 2 hurries or something like
yeah.
that. He's given up on the season, no sacks, no penalties, all of that. And it's just those are things that the Bears have not had, and
It's
they matter.
oh, you at least have you have confidence in probably outside of running back in one player at every position on that offense. And
Yeah,
to be frank, you have confidence in more than one of those players, right? And so you just
right.
kind of it's it's tough because you just, you just you know how good it can be. I will say I feel like the worst part about this is I think DeAndre Swift is taking way too much blame for the failures right now than anything else. And if
I
that's
hear
your
you.
dark note, like that's fine. But I think you started to see the anger and power for a littler guy, but that Manon guy ran with last week. You
100%. That all matters. But even with that being said, it cannot prevent the Bears from
from making a move.
upgrading
Yeah.
at
Oh,
that position because, you know, end of the day, you've heard me say it and I've said it on air multiple times, is that, well, 2 things really. Everybody's heard me say that there's no fucking middle ground with NFL players
no.
when it comes to fans. It's either you suck or you're, a Hall of Famer. And in both cases, neither one of them are probably true.
Yeah.
Not a Hall of and it falls somewhere in the middle. Is DeAndre Swift Saquon Barkley? No, he's not close to Saquon Barkley. But most fans, that's what they want him to be. It's just not who he is. He's a Robin. You get a competent guy out there that you can like if you had imagine if you had David Montgomery here. David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift would be a great situation. But you don't have him. But Monin guy is a guy that's going to be play in the league for a while, but he cannot prevent them from trying to go out and make a move or claiming a guy, or if there's a late round pick swap
Yeah.
for a guy that they feel like I would love to see what Miami's doing as their roster is, kind of falling apart and their season is, we'll see where that goes. But if they decide
That
to,
was the blip on the screen this past week.
oh, right, exactly. But I mean, if they're willing to move on from a guy like A Chain or something like that, that's a guy that you have to be locked in on. I know he's got some injury concerns, but that is a guy with juice that Ben Johnson could do something with. That's
Yeah.
that's an interesting name. Now, is he going to be available under any circumstance? We'll see. But that's the type of guy that I'm looking at that I think Ben Johnson would want also.
Well, but I think that makes sense because you're looking at these teams and you're understanding Miami's going to have to hit a reset at the
Yeah.
quarterback position here, which is going to carry on to a whole lot of other things. So how do you rebuild draft capital? How do you do those types of things? And so you watch teams like them, you watch the Texans, you watch Bengals, and I'm not saying like names or any specific players, but you're gonna watch teams as
Yeah.
things start to fall apart. If Baltimore's season completely and like just uh, falls apart, like it looks like it's doing all of a sudden, what do you're gonna make calls. You're gonna see certain things, and you can't. if the season progresses the way that it is, you have to be aggressive so that you can make a sense.
100%. And where was the one? Alex Ramos. I don't think a guy like Tavondre Sweat, year 2, think that's a guy that they're going to keep around, but it's the guy next to him that I could see becoming available. And Cars, I know I texted you and Ryan Cox about it, and Jeffrey Simmons, if he is out there, that is obviously just all going to come down to
Yeah, because that roster's horseshit.
compensation, right? But again, this is the problem when you go out and give a guy like Dio Adangbo the money that you gave him, and Montez Sweat is being paid. But oof, man, I think about something that could cure a lot of ills on this defensive line. A guy like Jeffrey Simmons is fun to think about, but it's
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot is there, but I think the one thing that I keep sort of bringing myself to believe is this year, and we've talked about it so many times with different things, like this year has to be about the quarterback and the
100%.
offense ascension. Um, it we can't do anything like go get a Simmons if he's available. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think you're gonna see this team really has to look at that offensive side of the ball. And I think what's fun about this is, and kind of back to our earlier part of that conversation is starting week 5, your offensive line is set, right?
So
You
yeah,
are
right. This isn't this isn't a we'll see where Braxton's at for
yeah.
a few weeks. Yeah, Theo's gonna have his long rope, and Darnell Wright, which I know we're gonna get into that, and you have proof to where Darnell's taking a lot of bullets from fans that are really
What do
unwarranted
you
beyond the
mean?
penalties.
I don't understand, Shane. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean about that? You
Yep.
know, and so but you're right. And so everybody focuses on that left guard number, like, boy, what is Joe Tooney doing?
Yeah.
Well, Joe Tooney is dealing with the guy on the left who really can't anchor anymore. I mean, it's if you want to look at what Braxton is, he is a solid, meaning like average almost pass blocker to a below average run blocker at
Right.
this point. And his best, he was average, but post the injury, he can't even get to that level. But now when you look at this and you're going Benedict, who everybody says is a plus run blocker with Tooney, with Dahlman, with Jackson, and then with Darnell Wright, that EPA fit is insane
Yep.
running off of his shoulder. And that's with him, to my opinion, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna share similarly that Jonah has been okay.
I think he's got to get. I think Phil's right. I think he's got to get in better shape.
Yeah, he's
I do.
working himself into
Yep.
shape, absolutely. But
Yep.
most of that number is based on Darnell.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And
Like
that's
between the left or right guard and right tackle, that is
yep.
mostly Darnell's doing at that
In
point.
the patron chat, there's a couple of different guys, talking about moving Darnell to guard, moving it, and I brought it up, or Phil brought it up at one point. If they got down to the point where you couldn't rely on Benedict, I think if that happens, I think that's probably what you will see. Is if
Yeah,
Benedict fails, you'll see Darnell move
move to
over
left.
there, and then Trapillo is your right tackle. But that's still a long ways away. And I understand. Listen, Darnell, I think Darnell's got to get in better shape. He's got to be locked in. The penalties are an issue. The
Yes.
play on the field,
No.
he's taking a lot of he's taking bullets because of the penalties, and people are just putting it into his play, and his play is pretty goddamn good. And oh yeah, by the way, he's still only 24 years old.
And you're seeing that this staff is reaching him, right?
Yeah.
Rashar and Ben, you see they're reaching him. And so I just sit down and say, like, it's really good. And if he hits his ceiling, understanding that maybe he's not a left tackle, but you know what? If you go back in time and ask the Philadelphia Eagles if they would still draft right tackle only Lane Johnson 5th overall,
Yeah. Yeah.
100% you would do that.
Right.
And so if that's the player that he becomes, yeah, ideally he would be a left tackle. But you know what? If you get just a really, really good right tackle. You think of like in our lifetime, the Eric Williams in the Dallas Cowboys, or
Yeah.
what we were able to do with Big Cat Williams on the right tackle. Like, it's no longer this thing where you have to your left tackle has to be head and shoulders above your right. You need two really good
Yep.
ones. And so if he happens to be that one, that's a great place for it to be.
Right. And where was it? Listen, Carter would not have worked out here with the situation. He went to the best situation by a country mile for him, surrounded by all pro talent, veterans, and a veteran laden team that had a spot ready made for him. In Chicago, Cars, it would have ended up being a disaster.
Yeah, we didn't have the locker room for that. And I mean, you look at what happened the first game and the ridiculousness, and there was a couple other like little one-off things that have happened in the other game. Like, what there's something, I can't remember if it was week 2 or week 3 where he did that was a little bit boneheaded, not as bad as week 1. Those things would have been a weekly standard. We drafted a guy with his ability. His name was Tevin Jenkins, and we see
Yeah.
how basically we couldn't motivate. He spent his first year basically walking up and down a hill at Hallis Hall because we couldn't motivate him to practice.
Right. And KB, just saying that they're all grown men, it just shows that you're probably just looking at stats and not taking anything else into consideration.
Because,
Be-
well, I mean, look at your own job. How many grown men do you work with that don't act like grown men
Right.
in the jobs that we all have?
Right. You had no leadership here. None. He needed that. He needed to be around guys like Fletcher Cox, guys like Brandon Graham, that are, Jason Kelsey, all of those guys. The Bears had none of them here, with, by the way, an incompetent coaching staff on top of it that was letting everything happen.
Hey,
Look at
Tyreek Stevenson is the
Right.
perfect example, right? He was talented, but part of the reason he was there was because of attitude concerns and things. We drafted him in the second round, and that staff struggled to control him. He made one, couple big plays. It got too big for his own ego, and then he rode that for an entire year, Shane. He was
Yeah.
basically a lost cause.
100%, man. And that's the thing. Creighton's got the fucking mic drop right there. Maturity has nothing to do with being grown. Yeah, I mean, just remove football and look at like you said, Cars, with people at your work or just people in general in everyday life.
The other parents of the
Oh
children
my God.
and the children in your school. You first, Shane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just see it. And look, hindsight being what it is, if they did, you would have always understood it. But it's really hard to believe that it would have worked out. I think the prime example of something like that is kind of the Albert Hainsworth, right? Like,
Yeah.
he was looking good when he was held accountable, and he had a coach who held his feet to the fire, and then he gets all that money and he goes to Washington, and what happens after the fact?
He Nate Davis'd it.
Yeah, he went right in the shitter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you roll the dice, but you also have to have an offensive line. And I think, again, if I'm not saying that he's going to be Lane Johnson, but if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you go back to that draft and you had other needs and you go, well, he's not a left tackle, he's just a really, really good right tackle, you make that pick 10 times out of 10.
Right. And I said, sometimes it works out that way for you the best, because you know who they wanted in the draft that year? Philadelphia. They wanted Deion Jordan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And
sometimes the best moves are the ones that never happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I totally forgot about that guy.
It just, it worked out. And I mean, Lane is a first ballot shoe-in Hall of Fame. Really one of the best right tackles of all time in the NFL.
and
I
not
mean,
particularly close.
yeah,
Like,
it's
he dominated, like, I use the name Eric Williams at the
yeah,
Cowboys, like, when I think of, like, him and what he and Nate Newton used to do on the right-hand side of the Cowboys, that guy has just been steady as an insult, right? Like, he
yeah,
has been spectacular. Playing through injuries was still the best right tackle
right,
in the game. Like,
100%.
not healthy, still the best right tackle in the
Yeah,
game.
KB, I would just give you the best advice possible. Just you're just telling everybody that you don't know how to watch football games because calling Darnell Wright soft just shows everybody that you don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm glad you're here participating in the chat. Calling Darnell Wright soft means you've never watched a single ounce of tape of the kid play.
He is aloof,
Yeah, he's
but he is
aloof in life.
good.
He's not soft on the football field. I'll tell you
And
that. It's
and
crazy.
I will argue that if you say that, like, he was all the other LTs are good, you clearly have not watched Broderick Jones,
Yeah.
at all.
And yes, Broderick Jones almost a Bear. Ryan Cox
Almost.
drafted. Brian Cox
This is why we never
drafted him
listen to
for
Ryan
us.
Cox about anything. But yeah, I mean, so let's get into it for a second because I think there's a couple other really interesting things that let's see which one I can't remember which one. So I think this is kind of when you start talking about the struggles, Shane, of what this is
Yep.
looking at. Like, we're second in the NFL this year across 4 games with 9 false start penalties. We're third in offensive holding penalties. You know, when you look at that average, 9 penalties for 75 yards
Yeah.
a game. I mean, I can make a joke that in my lifetime we've had games where we haven't passed for 75 yards.
Yep.
So you look at that and you're just like, Jesus, what are we doing? And then, you know, you look at we're the ninth worst team first down rushing the ball at 3.7 yards a carry. We're middle of the pack on first down in passing attempts at just shy of 8.
Yep.
When you look at kind of going back to that number, we're 80% pass on third down because we're so long, and we're completing and finishing and getting first downs 45% of the time
Wow.
doing this. And I
Yep.
think what's interesting to tie this all up, like, you remember when it was all like, he's not reading the field, he can't do any of these things. Caleb is throwing to the first read the second lowest percentile in the NFL. By the way, do you know the only quarterback who's lower than him?
Throw it on me.
Justin Fields. So, but when you compare it from that number, right, and looking at what, and you're talking about, it's like 54 to 57%. So not a big gap.
Yep.
But what are you seeing as part of that difference is really the quarterback and his growth. And I think you, again, when you look at these numbers and you're like 25 a game, even if it's 20 a game, and you're looking at this with all the numbers, and things have been significantly less than picture perfect, you can understand where this is going and why the excitement is there. And I think, to your point, this is the perfect time for that buy, because
Yeah.
now they can do that self scouting. And I think that this is kind of what we're going forward with. Is you're going to start to see less. I'll throw this up for a second as we kind of go through it. So, you know, you've got Benedict in his left tackle, but I'm going to tell you the things that I think that you're going to see. You're going to see over the next several weeks a decline in the overall Swift usage and an increase in the Monungai usage. You're going to start to see more Burden, and I think you're going to see a hell of a lot more Colston Loveland as this moves forward.
And I think you started to see that play out with Colston in the game that he ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they started off the game with a pass to him that Caleb missed. And then they came right back to him. And what was it, a 32 yards, right around there? And then he had the play that he got hurt. But it was a focus for Ben Johnson to get him incorporated. And that was also the game that you saw Luther Burden have 101 yards on 17 snaps.
Yeah. And you, like, even that last touchdown run for DeAndre Swift, who's one of the wideouts sitting there blocking his heart off? It's Luther Burden.
Yeah.
Right? One of those guys that we always sat down, again, to kinda go back to your earlier conversation about the staff. No
Yeah.
block, no rock, and everyone's like, "I don't know how Luther's gonna do in that. He didn't really do a great job in Missouri. I don't know. I don't know." Looks like he's bought in pretty
Yep.
well right now, I would, argue.
Well, listen, Luther's got to be smart enough to realize where
This
this
is
is
going
headed
for him. Yeah.
for him. I mean, he's going to be in an offense with a young quarterback with a ton of ability and a huge arm, and is probably going to slide right in to being the number 2 option behind Rome in 2026. You know what I mean? In terms
Oh,
of wide receivers, if they decide to move off of DJ.
and let's put that with the asterisk of saying that this staff and front office look at him as true number 1 potential
Oh yeah.
from where
Yep.
he is. So, you know, if that means that he supplants Rome, that's a great thing because that means that this guy is ascending as a player. You're
Carrie,
welcome, sir.
I did the same thing pre-show. He had the slide up showing me what he was going to talk about, and I'm like, "Oh shit, nice background."
I wanted to see who would notice there, but I think you just kind of look at that growth. But I think what's really fascinating is when you looked at, you and I were talking about this before the show, Shane. Like
Yeah.
this stretch didn't look so great early on, like before the season happened.
Oh, yeah, that's the NFL. It happens every year.
And now you look at it and it's like, okay, Washington is one of the worst pass defenses in the league. You look at the Saints, they've been solid, but you just never know. But like the Ravens have fallen off. The Bengals are terrible. The Giants have a great pass rush, but they don't have a whole lot
Right.
else in that tank. So when you look at this, you kind of go, all right, so we're 2-2 here. Over the next 5 games, we've got 5 very winnable games. Most of these defenses are sitting in the bottom third of big plays.
Yeah.
Like, nobody has given up more 20 and 40-yard plays than the teams that you sit down and see here. And when you bring it all home, when you look at, like, QB rating, look at the numbers of what QBs have done against us. Now, granted, the Giants, because of that pass rush, is gonna be a little different, so that's gonna be a great test. But what you're seeing here over these next few weeks is the possibility you've settled your line.
Yep.
You're gonna see these rookies come in and have some more time to meld, and they're gonna figure out the best ways to use them. Do not expect this just to go up and to the
Nope.
right. There's gonna be hiccups along the way. But if you come out of this 3-2 over the next 5 games, you're sitting there at 5-4, basically at the midway part of the season. That gives you all this confidence moving forward.
And so, listen, I know it's not a apples to apples comparison, but um Detroit in year 1 under their head coach, they started with Dan Campbell. That was the 1-6.
Oh, that was their second year. They went 3-13, I think it was
All
his
right, and then
first year. They
right,
drafted
and
Panay and then
okay, so that's what it was, and then they came out, and that was
1 and
when
6.
they were supposed to take the step, and they started 1-6.
Yep.
But then that's when they caught fire, essentially the second half of the year, and I mean, obviously they haven't gotten to where they wanted to go, but they've been the Detroit Lions that we see now since that second half of that year.
And you look at that, right, that year that you're talking about, they lost to the Eagles, they beat the Commanders, they lost to the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Patriots, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
And after that Dolphins game, I think the whole belief was just like, man, Dan Campbell's gone
Yep, he's
after
a
the
meathead.
season.
Yep.
He's done. And then they go out and they rip 3 straight against Bears, Packers, Giants, lose to Buffalo, rip 3 straight against Jaguars, Vikings, Jets, and then finish off with back-to-back wins against the Bears and the Vikings.
Yep.
And so, did they make the playoffs? No. Did they prevent Green Bay from making the playoffs with
Yep.
that win? Absolutely. But these are the moments. We've kind of emphasized this a lot. This is a building year. If you make the playoffs, and I'm not saying it's not the goal. It's absolutely the goal. But if you make the playoffs in year 1 while you're ascending, that is a bonus at this
100%.
point.
Yeah, that's the cherry on top.
If you get to
Absolutely.
if you because what's happening, we are looking like a functional football franchise. We are looking like a group that knows what they're doing. And I understand we're not talking enough about the defense and some of those holes and how Montez Sweat isn't living up to those expectations, and how, if to be honest, if I were one of the head coaches, I would be looking at benching Trebayne Edmonds because he is uh, if we talk about Braxton Jones being a negative in the run game,
Yep.
Edmonds is a negative in the run game on the defensive side of the
Oh, yeah.
ball. But there's enough there. We've seen Bengals teams. I always like to make jokes because, but we've seen bad Bengals defenses make the playoffs because the offense was so good. That team that went to the Super Bowl had no business being there, but the offense
Right.
was so good they got there. Anything we do, if it's 9-8 and we threaten the playoffs and we get to that, that's a win of a season, and it builds to what you're going to do next year.
100%, man. And that's the thing. And just going through some of these, Christian Solid says, I have no faith in us going 5-4 unless we get healthy starters back on the field. Well, Kyler
can't
Gordon.
fault-
Yeah, Kyler Gordon's going to be back. TJ Edwards is going to be back. Colston Loveland is going to be back. Those guys all just practiced, so they're going to be ready to go for Washington. And that's what you're talking about. And if you have no faith in them going 5-4, that's fantastic, because I was the guy yelling at you because you were bagging on Caleb Williams saying that he's not good. So that's great if you don't believe in it. That's good for me. I like that.
But also, I can't blame anyone. It's super, even with what we've seen, it's such a small sample. It's super hard to have the faith now. I can't sit down and blame anybody for not having faith. But all I'm saying is we can all, for now, sit back and enjoy the ride and watch the growth and watch the quarterback when he's performing. And what I love, and Christian, I'm not even bother throwing up what you just said, because what I've noticed is when he plays well, haters are awfully silent.
Yeah, that's
Nobody's
why. Right.
talking about it.
Exactly.
But when he does something wrong, we're all over it. You can fan how you want, but
for whatever reason, that's the thing. And TTNL has been painted with this brush that we don't hold Caleb Williams accountable. Like I said, then you're not listening or watching what we do. Go back to Cars. You and I hosted BHL. Were we critical of Caleb on night number 1?
not apparently to anyone that was watching, because I think they were watching on mute and just assuming that we
It's
weren't.
just like, it's crazy. Yes, that's part of tape analysis, is holding people accountable for bad plays. We do it all the time. All the time. Is there anybody in here talking about Mac Jones playing well right now? No, but they always want to say other shit, right? It's all, everybody wants to have their gotcha moment. It's lazy.
It's fine. It is, in the end, what it is. But I think, from my purview, and I know that you and I tend to be fairly aligned on these things, the improvement is there. And if this is the floor, if he is performing this way when we're facing 3rd and 8, most of the times that we're facing a 3rd down and we're still scoring 25 points, if this is kind of the low at this moment, how high can the high be? I'm not talking this year, which at current pace, he's going to break every record this year.
Right. Yeah. That's a low bar for Chicago. We understand it, but still.
It's such a low bar that no one else has done it, right? Like, no one else has been able to beat a 1995 Eric Kramer season. So I get that the
Right.
bar is low, but we've been hiring ants at the quarterback position that have been unable to climb over that bar. So doing that in year 2 with all the uncertainty and everything that happened is valued. If that is the floor of how high this thing can go, in 10 years, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze will have rewritten all the record books for the Chicago Bears passing game. Everyone.
Yeah.
They all need to be rewritten. But if this is the floor of where this is going, holy shit.
Right. And I understand the angst. I really do. Listen, as Bears fans, that's just, part of it is built into you. We were all sitting here on 3rd and 1 the other day, watching Vegas, expecting Ashton Genty to convert the 3rd down play, and Kevin Byard made a play. You're expecting the field goal to go through and not get blocked, because we're Bears fans. That's what we are accustomed to, and it didn't happen. And listen, now you're past that. Now you have to stack another one. Go to Washington, get your fucking revenge game, take it personal, send a fucking message. Because, by the way, last year in Washington, everybody forgets who took you down the field to put you on the board and put you up. Yeah, it was your rookie quarterback on the road, returning home, taking you down the field. Does everybody remember the play to Keenan Allen when he was rolling out and almost out of bounds and just popped it up in the air? Does everybody remember that play? There was 2 plays, great plays to Keenan on that. That was your rookie quarterback taking you down there, putting you in a position to win the game. Now Tyreek fucked up, but guess who else had just as an egregious play? Your fucking head coach. Remember? Those 13 yards don't matter. They were a non-factor. Bullshit, Flus. They did matter. 100% they mattered. Yes, Tyreek is not free from blame. Can't have that. But that's your head coach. That's the guy that's supposed to put you in the positions. That's the guy, when your rookie quarterback doesn't call a timeout, your fucking head coach is supposed to be there making sure that you get the timeout so you have time to set up for a field goal or for your final play. We didn't have that because he's lost. Matt Eberflus. I mean, he's going to be out of a job. Is he going to make the season in Dallas?
Only because Jerry is senile.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, I mean, and you look at it, and Eric brings up a great point. There were batted balls and a few different issues, but he hit Cole Kmet on 2 different passes that Cole should have caught.
Yeah.
The one over the middle was easy. I understand the one on the sideline wouldn't have been, but I don't know a quarterback that makes that type of throw and as accurate as it was. And so, if this is the floor, if this is kind of where he's getting in, it's kind of like he's starting to believe. He's believing, Rome's believing, DJ Moore is bought in. All of these guys, as they believe, the offensive line hasn't been great, but it hasn't been as bad as it is. I think we don't celebrate the fact that enough that in over 2 weeks, we've given up 1 sack.
Yeah.
The vast majority of that, though, is on Caleb Williams doing the things that everybody told us he couldn't do.
Yep.
So again, if you look at those numbers, he's the second lowest in hitting the first wide receiver because it's not open. What does that tell you? He's reading the field.
Yep.
He's seeing the field. He's getting sacked less than 2 times per game at current average. Last year, he's getting sacked 4 times per game. So all of these numbers, all of these things just point to a quarterback that is building confidence because he has a competent staff. He's surrounded by skilled players that are very talented and are figuring it out. The arrow is up and to the right. That's it.
Yeah, man, it's fun, and I'm excited for it. I talked to Phil, uh, you know, off air today about it, and he made a great point. He's like, the defense can get you frustrated, and the
Yeah.
running game can get you frustrated, and all of that. End of the day, you still get to watch Caleb Williams play, and you feel great about, like what Cars just said, where that arrow is pointed. And I will say this from a roster construction standpoint: everybody knows my thoughts on Ryan Poles, and if I was lucky enough to own the Bears or run the Bears, Ryan Poles would be the former GM of the Chicago Bears. He would have been. That's I have not wavered from that. He would have been fired. But with that being said, when you have QB1 solidified and with the arrow pointing where it's pointing, everything else on your roster becomes easier to fill when you have the quarterback.
And it's even easier when you're paired up with an offensive play caller
Yeah,
who has proven it and has shown that he knows how to get the most out of people.
right.
So it's great to have one or the other. To have both, that's the moment, right? And
Yep.
so the difference is, right, McDaniels looked great year 1 with Tua, and then what happened is it fell off, or, like, you see this happen where it's like a blip and then down, and then blip and then down.
Right.
Continually, everybody the Athletic had him, what, the number 2 best offensive play caller in the NFL behind Andy Reid?
Yes. Yeah. They did.
That stands for something. Those are the pairings that get you to Super Bowls. You have one of the 2. Again, I use the Bengals when you've got Joe Burrow, unfortunately tied up
Yep.
with Zach Taylor. You might get one.
Right. And that's the
Paired Patrick and Andy?
right. And that's the thing too, you look back, and I've seen people try to make the comparison saying, Matt Nagy won in year 1, but the comparison, it's not valid because Matt Nagy didn't have the pedigree or track record that Ben Johnson had of success as a play caller when he got the job here. Not even close. He got some play calling in the playoff game and shit down his leg, and Andy had to take it back, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Bears hired him. So
And they limped into that playoffs, right? Like, you
Yeah.
had a lot of low-scoring games against the Rams, against the 49ers. It just never week in, week out, there was no consistency. I think one of the things we should go back and we probably talked about on the show, one of the main reasons that we won that game is because at no point did Ben completely abandon the run.
right.
That's what we've always done. That's what Matt would do. You get down 7, it's like, "All right, running game's over. We're gonna go throw. We're gonna go throw. We're gonna go
Right.
throw." Even if it's not working, it's still forced them to defend against it. It still forced them to treat it and think that it's gonna be a play that could be run. Those are
Right.
the things that are invaluable. Like, that's how you know Ben Johnson understands it, because he understands the weights of the plays and understands that you can't just go throw the ball 40 times because you're averaging 2.5 yards a carry. You keep a defense honest,
100%.
and you're gonna
Yeah.
win a game.
And DJ's number 2 in targets on the team. I don't think that they're making a concerted effort to phase him out. And I brought up contract extension, throwing a little bit more of a bone to Kevin Byard to send a message to your team, with a leader that you want him around here. And I think that that's good for the club morale. I think it's good for Kevin Byard. I'm doing the same thing to Oz. I'm throwing him
Oh.
a deal.
Yeah, but I think to this point, I look at this differently. They're not phasing DJ out. Rome is just taking it.
Yeah, and that's
That's
what
the
you want,
difference is
right?
right now. This isn't we're gonna force feed Rome the ball and make him the number 1. Rome and Caleb have always it showed in the draft. They've had a connection. They understand each other. They really like each other. You've talked about him on the St. Brown podcast going, why are reporters asking me what's wrong with Caleb? Like, why people think Caleb sucks? Because you
Right.
guys are the ones writing the articles. It is not that DJ's being phased out. It's that Rome is basically moved up, taken the reins, and said, I'm the guy. I'm the number one.
Yep.
And that's the best case scenario because that means that if he has a bad day or an off day, DJ's there
Yeah.
and he can step up and that third
And
down, first down and 13. It's DJ all day. It's there.
and once he gets settled and back healthy and involved more in the offense, Colston Loveland, his targets, he's going to be second on the team in targets in pretty short order.
Don't look at how Detroit used Laporta as a barometer, but I think it's because they used him for a lot more short and
Yeah.
middle of the field stuff in Detroit. To your point, we're designing 30+ yard pass plays
Yeah.
for Colston Loveland in this offense.
Cars, how many text messages over the past 20 years have you gotten from me talking about slants and attacking the seam?
Yeah.
And you're going to see that. I mean, you've seen it at tight end. We've seen it already. And you're going to see more of that as, this season gets going. And that is the stuff that's exciting. And somebody put in there in the chat, I should have started it or I would have put it up. Listen, I'm my confidence level in Ryan Poles is low. I understand that. He's also not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's not. He's gonna be here. My thing is, he has to attack the fucking trenches, and you can't say, "Oh, he's good enough." If there's a guy,
You're right.
If it goes right back to Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones could get you by. I demand better than that. That's why
Good enough is choosing Dio over Josh
Right.
Sweat, right?
100 right.
let's
Or taking a fucking tight end at 10. As much as I love Colston
player.
Loveland's talent, it's just it's bad roster construction.
It's signing Grady Jarrett, who again love the player and what he brings.
Yeah, you overpaid him for leadership. That's what you did.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Because you had failed at leadership in
Right.
other positions.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it just is what it is. So they know. They're not dumb. They know they have to attack the lines. But Ivan had sent me a text talking about, both Notre Dame backs and Jeremiah Love. And listen, Jeremiah Love is a fantastic fucking player. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but I'm not dumb enough to sit here and say that he's not a fantastic player. But I got a big fucking problem if the Bears are going running back in the first round. And that's where he's going to go. You cannot go back down that avenue again. You can't.
No, it's to your point. It's an all trench, and what we've always seen with him is what does he do? He doubles down, right? And so you're going to see a lot of those players. I'll be honest. I saw some things out of Shamar Turner I really liked. You're seeing certain flashes out of Dexter still. I wish they were more consistent.
Go watch Shamar Turner on the third down play that Kevin Byard stopped Genty.
Yeah. I'll go watch again.
Yes. Yeah, you'll be happy.
I mean, this has got to be the year. We've been saying you need to draft it. You got to pick a tackle. You've got to add. I'm not saying it's got to be a tackle or edge or bust. It's what the good teams do, and that's where we're at.
100%. And like I said, and I know that you can get some bad information, but we have pretty solid source. I'll just say that if Banks was there, Banks was going to be the pick over Loveland. The Bears loved him.
Really pretty good.
Yeah. Yep.
He's being left on an island at a healthy rate for a rookie, that's pretty telling.
Imagine that. I mean, he was taking bullets for arm length. Greg Gabriel said that he couldn't play tackle and he shouldn't play tackle. And that whole narrative about 7/8 of an inch short of where he should be. It's just, listen.
I had said some things against him. My biggest concern is I always thought, like, physically and skill wise, that he should dominate more. He should have dominated more at the collegiate level that he did. And to his credit, what is he doing right now? He's dominating at that level now.
I believe he literally just turned 21, like maybe the week of the draft or the week before. It's very close to it.
Yeah, he just turned 21. You're correct.
Yeah,
March 10th.
Yeah, so he's going to be a 21-year-old rookie throughout the season, and that is a great sign for a 21-year-old kid coming in and sending a message as a rookie left tackle on a shitty fucking team.
And there will be tackles around the places that we could draft, like like you want to see us swing the bat a little bit more instead of draft. Like the book's not out on Ozzy yet. I understand that, but it's really looking more and more like we drafted a right tackle when we needed a left.
100%. And Cars, we all said it here live that we didn't see left tackle traits, and there's nothing wrong with that. That you're not making fun of, you're not disparaging the player. You're just going off what we've done for years watching this. Listen, our end game is we want the Bears to be good. Why would we go up there and show a bias towards a player that may or may not be a Bear, in their future? We're telling you what we see. And if you're a Boston College fan and you hear us say that about Ozzy, then you get pissed. That's fine.
Yeah.
If Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham and Ben Johnson were on air with us right now, I would say to Ryan, you tell me what solidified on tape that Ozzy Trapillo was a left tackle. And he would stammer and he would not be able to answer it. He got played and he reached and hoped that he could play left tackle.
But that's why there's the uncertainty. It's a lot of hope and pray.
Yeah.
It's consistent. And I think, we'll see. But yeah. Doesn't give you a lot of comments. But that's it from me. I mean,
that's it. Let me rip. Got a couple of these here. Isaac Siegel, Cubs. Let's go. Let's channel that energy for the Bears. Thank you, Isaac. Cubs with the big playoff win. As a Dodgers fan, I was not at all upset to see San Diego get ushered out. That made me very happy. Bear Truth 9, $4.99. I really think Moore has finally bought in. He has no choice if he wants to be here. I read that actually pretty good with
you did really
all the
well
special
on that
spaces
one.
there. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you, Bear Truth 9. Yeah, and listen, Cars, talked about Darnell Wright being aloof. DJ's got a little bit of that in him, and I think DJ loves to play that aspect of that role of it up for the cameras. I mean, you guys have all heard me say, I saw a couple of things that were highly questionable in Buffalo with DJ that, I thought were very odd, when you're on the cusp of signing a $100 million deal with the team. But, it is what it is. And when the rubber met the road in Vegas and the Bears had a big play, like Carr said, who were the first two guys hugging? It was DJ and Caleb. And there was a lot of talk out there, that DJ didn't like Caleb and blah, 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 and all that. And even then, that's fine. The players on the same fucking team, they don't have to like each other. They just have to produce.
Yeah.
You
I
look
think
at
though
the
some of that was built by the coaching staff too,
I
right?
do
Like
too. I do too. But
everybody, it just felt was firing shots at
but
everybody at the
look
end
at
of
the
that.
fucking drama in Philly with AJ Brown
Oh my god.
and Jalen Hurts. It's insane, and they've won what 20 out of 21 games. 20 out of their
Oh,
last 21 they've won.
yeah.
It's
But
crazy.
can you imagine this team right now if you were talking about like we had AJ Brown on this team
Yeah.
and he had just a game that had to be a must win and
Yep.
Caleb Williams didn't complete a single pass in the second half and AJ Brown only had 2 catches for 7 yards in an entire game. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what this would look like what this show would look like if that was even if we won
100%, man.
under those scenarios?
And
Can you imagine what that would look like? Oh,
and I think Bogey's right here. I think that there probably is a little bit of that, but listen, if
yeah.
you signed the extension here, homie. Nobody forced you to.
Yep.
He signed it. So that's and listen, I understand, but that's you have to make the choice. Do you want the security of the contract, or do you want to take less and go win?
Do you wanna be a number 1 on a bad team, or do you wanna potentially be a number 2 on a winning team?
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, man, let's get out of here. I will get the pod version of this up for everybody so you guys can watch that. If you have not subscribed, head over to Spotify and subscribe over there, and you can get all of our shows, podcast versions. We'd appreciate it. And believe it or not, analytics show more people than not that listen to our show are not subscribed on our YouTube page. And that helps us out a ton. Go
Wait,
over
you guys
there
do
and
analytics?
yes, it's crazy. I do. Phil has nothing to do with them, but
Okay, that's
I
better.
I take a peek at them. Go over there, make sure that you're subscribed, set your alerts for every time we go live. You'll know. And with that being said, Bears are on bye week. TTNL, we're gonna be off for a couple of days here. Sit back, and I'm going on a house tour tomorrow. Hopefully, can kick that fucking door in so I can start over my shit. Do that.
What everybody wants to do at our age, start
Oh
all
yeah.
over again.
Yeah. Oh well,
Yeah.
it could be worse, right? I
It
could
could.
be falling off bulls like Angelo live on Facebook. Did you see that? By the way?
No.
Oh, you got to check it out. It's pretty funny. Anyways, we love you guys. We're gonna get out of here. Bears bye week. Commanders on deck. People getting healthy. Let's go. Like I said, go to Washington. Kick the fucking door in and let them know when you're walking out that you're leaving with a W, and you'll see them down the road, maybe even in the playoffs. We'll see how it goes. All right, TTNL, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for tuning in to Cars Keys, Season 4, Episode 58. We will see you all next week. We're out of here. See ya.
Later.